Alright guys, we're finally back working on this big hoop the other thing. Haven't been here for a while just because it's been Christmas, New Year's, blah blah blah. So hopefully everyone's had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, of course. We last left off making these aluminium intercooler brackets, which I'm just going to do the top alloy just because they look prettier and you can see them. And then I just picked up some 5mm flat bar that I'm going to make a bracket from the bottom of the radiator support to the top because we had to remove the one. So make a slimmer one as well as have the bottom mounts for the intercooler to support 80% of the weight of it. But you might have seen on our social media that we did a drive to Queensland for a little something. This is what we got. So Bella wanted to get something cool and different underneath her bonnet. So she got a pretty little thing. Yeah, so that was our whole trip to Queensland. That was the main reason for it. As you can see, pretty bloody sick. But yeah, so I'm gonna try and work out what to do here because currently this is just free spinning. The nut inside of it's obviously snapped off. So I'm probably just gonna cut this out, let it fall inside, and then do a nut cert here because I don't feel like cutting a big hole in this and then leaving it unsealed.
Few moments later.
I changed my mind. I'm going to saw a hole on the underside here, just a 25-ish, 32mm hole, because that's about as big as I can fit. That way this can come out. This is at the lowest point. It'll act as a drain hole. Shall be right. Toyota really using those good fucking bolts. Look at that. That's fucking beautiful, mate. That wasn't even threaded into anything. That was just sitting behind it and the thread was gone. I don't understand. But I got this out. I'm going to make, this is the bottom mounts obviously. I've got to do a piece of flat bar from here to that one to tie them together. And then I'll be making a piece of flat bar that goes from here, comes back up. And it's, I think, where's the bolt? Can't remember if it picks up that one or, I think it might pick up this one. Don't quite remember, but yeah, I'll pick one, make a piece that bends back, tie it against the aircon condenser and goes into that. And then I'll have just a small little elbow come out to pick this up and weld onto. So I'm going to start making this one because it's simplest. That's where roughly the center of this hole. And I marked it on this side, roughly the center. That'll get me accurate enough. So now I'm just going to quickly measure from here to this end and then do the same over here just so that there's an even gap on the outside. Then I'll find something round to radius this with, drill my holes in the center of these brackets and bada bing bada boom, it's done. Simple. I just grabbed the 30mm socket. Seems to line up pretty good for me. So I'm just going to trace around it. Might colour it in just so it's a bit more obvious. You can barely even see it on camera, but there's a radius line there now. See it on that end, but you can see it better on this end. Now I've got a nice simple radius to follow, so I'll quickly mark the centre of this way, drill both those holes, and I'll grind the radius, and I can bolt it on, and that piece is done. Alright, it's been a while since I updated you. I've just been working on the bracket to tie the radiator support back together, as well as mount my be the lower mount for the intercooler. All it is just the flat bar, like I said earlier. I literally just shoved it in the vise, bent it with a mallet and a lot of my weight against it. This is currently just sitting off at the moment because I gotta go pick up a tap and re-drill and tap this thread because the bolt was all cooked as you saw earlier. But that should push it nice against that. Hopefully now I'll test fit up the intercooler and the intercooler actually sits in front of it, no dramas. If not, then I'm going to cry. So let me do that. All right, I'm back. Went and picked up a die from my house, or a tap I should say, as well as my welder. Just going to tap this thread back in it because I had to drill it out. It's now bigger, still has plenty of meat on the back side, so it should work fine. I'll quickly tap that, and then I've got to make a little angled bracket to come off that to meet the bottom bracket of that. Then sit it all together, find out where the intercooler wants to sit, where it's square and happy, and then I'll tack that together, pull the bracket off, fully weld it, and then I'll give it a lick of paint before bolting it back on for good. So I got that piece in now. It sits nice and far back. I ended up just I'll be using 2 nuts here. I'll just weld them all into this, and then that way I can use a bolt from this side and they'll thread straight into those. Makes it simple. I re-tapped this thread down here, so now it fits an M8 bolt. That's all sweet, that's all sorted. About as close as I can get it. I mean, I can definitely push this further back, but I don't really need to, nor do I want to, because then it'll look uglier. But yeah, I'm just fixing up these brackets now, making sure these are where I need them. Then I'm going to try and hold the bottom of the intercooler up without having the timbers across the bottom, so that way I can actually work on where to weld the bracket to this piece here. Alright, I've been playing around with these top brackets to get them a bit more even, and I believe I've got the intercooler sitting pretty level, pretty square this way. Yeah, pretty square. And then I've made just a little triangle gusset from there to there. That's all it's going to need, I think. Should be plenty. Can always add more if I want. But yeah, I just got to connect up my welder. I went and picked up the welder, obviously. And quickly tack this together while it's on the car. Then I'll pull this bottom bracket off and I'll go weld it. All right, so I just tacked this all together. I ended up shoving it back a bit, so I'll have to trim this off or whatever. But that's what it's going to look like. I've just got to fully weld it out, so I've got to take it off, fully weld that out, pull this off, and I'll weld these nuts together and weld it to that so that I can just use a bolt from the top side. And then that's the intercooler mounted, which is exciting. Then I can focus on getting my mate here to help me with the plumbing of all of the intercooler piping. Got to cut a hole through there, bring it all up through here. So obviously this left side, go through here, connect into that side of the turbo just down here. And then the intake side has got to come across 90 degrees, come across 90 degrees, go back down this side and come into this one here. And then obviously airbox to intake of your turbo and exhaust out your turbo into the exhaust on the car. So yeah, got a bit of work to do with the piping, but other than that, at least this is done. So let me just pull this off. Whoops. I'll pull this off and then I'll fully weld. Alright, I haven't done this in a while, so let's see how I do. Welding on the floor, so not perfect, not ideal conditions, but what can you do? Alright, we're back at it. I've welded up the bracket as you just saw. Just going to quickly, while it's all bolted up still, I've got to paint it, but while it's bolted, I'm just going to quickly, I've marked the grill just where it needs trimming. So I'm just going to go through, cut that out, get the grill fitting around the intercooler while it's mounted. Then I can pull it off. I'll sand, clean up all the mounts, paint them. Probably going to colour match them because we still have half a can of colour match paint. So I think that should look clean. There we go. Got this all sitting in now. It's not screwed in, but everything's all sitting where it needs to be. Not a lot of room. It's touching the cardboard at the moment, but once the cardboard's gone, it'll be sweet. Yeah, not too shabby. I managed to pick up this bracket from the old cut this off the old original bracket, so I got the mount up here, but this mount was broken anyway, so we'll probably end up just chucking a cable tie through here, but little extra never hurt, nice and easy to do. So yeah, now that that's done, I'll be able to pull this back off and do all the painting on the brackets, get them sorted. All right guys, finished painting the brackets for the intercooler and mounting it up. Took the cardboard off it so we can finally get a good look of what it should look like. Looks pretty, I mean, it's hard to tell with this grill. Bella and I probably will remake this grill shortly. It's just not on our top priority list, but looks pretty wicked, I reckon. So now we've got to just make up some piping, get that all sorted. I might quickly just chuck on this front apron because I want to put everything that's going to be in the way so that when we make the piping, we can make it around it. Because obviously I don't want to make piping come out this far and then turn in a little later, and then suddenly it hits the apron. And for like one thing that 80 series it's going to make it difficult is there's lights here, so I've obviously got to snake this under the light and not hit it and all that. So might quickly just bolt the apron on, sort that out, and then that's good as done. I'm pretty sure the bracket for it might even get in the way of the piping because it bolts up there. Bolts up there and comes down, so might have to notch the bracket as well. All right, let me do that. All right, big shocker, it didn't fit. The bottom of the intercooler sat too far out, so it was fouling on the apron once I bolted it on. So what I've had to do is I re-drilled the 2 holes in the bottom of the bracket for the bottom bracket for the intercooler and pushed the bottom of it back so it wasn't so angled, because it was angled a little because I thought I'd had heaps of room, but apparently not. And then I had to trim the bottom of this apron just so it can fit. You can see where I stopped trimming it there because I wanted to leave a bit of space for the whatever we do here. Might have to trim it more, hopefully not. But now there's enough room there for the cooler, which is nice. Now I can clip this grill back on real quick like. At least this is nice and easy to get on and off. Clip that in there, clip that there, and look, Bob's your auntie. There you go, looking very nice. I can't wait to see this thing with a bonnet on. It should look pretty cracker. But yeah, so I've got a mate coming over in a minute. He's going to just hang around while I'm doing other stuff. Probably going to put the battery and shit back in, the radiator back in, put the fan on, the fan shroud. Pretty much put this whole motor back together as if it was going to drive. Mainly because you need everything in to route your plumbing, like your intercooler piping. Because I've got to bolt these lights in because obviously they're going to get close to the intercooler piping and whatnot. So I want everything in the way so I can make the piping fit around it all. Because just like this, I didn't have this in the way when making the brackets for the intercooler, and as soon as I go to put it all together, it hit. So alright, so finished putting in the radiator, fan and shroud. As you see, it's all secured, all nice. Also off camera we actually had to sit there and think about how the fuel pressure regulator system works and we couldn't wrap our heads around where the return line was. Turns out I had this line connected up to the return line instead of the charcoal canister. That's why. So pulled out the return line, just loops back through there, mounted the fuel pressure regulator here on a little alloy bracket that we made. Then it's got the feed, goes up through the intake onto the fuel rail here. I've just got to get more vacuum line to run that back across to here, but then that's the fuel system pretty much fully done. All we'll have to do is rip out the tank and install the new fuel pump, but that's not required to drive. So we just want to try and get this thing driving under its own power, or at least running for the most part. But yeah, I don't know what else is going to go on this episode. So if this is it, I hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned. Hopefully we'll be doing more soon.